Hi everyone, welcome to Carmen's Australian Storytime. Today I'm reading a book called Willem, which is a Birrarung story, and it's written and illustrated by Auntie Joy Murphy and Andrew Kelly. Hi everyone, welcome to Carmen's Australian Storytime. I've got another CBCA Book Award book for you. This book is called Willem, which means welcome, and it's a Birrarung story. It's written by Auntie Joy Murphy and Andrew Kelly, two authors today, and the illustrations are by Lisa Kennedy. Let's have a look at the blurb to see what this book's about. As Nuwa rises, Bunjil soars over mountain ash, flying higher and higher as the wind warms. Below, Birrarung begins its long winding path down to Palam Warim. Willem is home. The blurb. This book has me interested because of its beautiful artwork, and it is also an opportunity to learn Indigenous names for our Aussie animals and places. It is also a reminder that we need to take care of our environment if we want to continue to enjoy it. Let's get exploring. Willem means home. This is a beautiful story about our native Australian animals that live along the Yarra River. Something special about this book is your chance to learn some Indigenous names for these animals. On the next page, you will see the glossary. Usually this is at the end of the book, and it explains the meaning of words. I have placed the glossary throughout so you can keep referring to it, but see if you can figure out what the word might mean by using your visual clues and the surrounding text. What is a glossary? A glossary tells you the meaning of words you will see throughout the book that you may not know the meaning of. So in this case, it's actually translating the English to the Indigenous language. Me no leave it, Yarra, my country. There's no mountains for me on the Murray. That was William Barrack, 1874. Wurundjeri Ngurungaeta. William Barrack was born into the Wurundjeri clan of the Woi Wurrung people in 1823 in the area now known as Croydon in Melbourne. Originally named Baruch Barrack, he adopted the name William after joining the native police as a 19-year-old. He was passionate about taking care of the Yarra. It was his home and he loved it. As Nuwa rises, turning cloud over the distant city red, Bunjil soars over mountain ash, flying higher and higher as the wind warms. Below, Birrarung begins its long winding path down to Palam Warim. Can you guess what Nuwa is that rises? Yes, it's the sun. What about Bunjil that soars and flies higher and higher? You guessed it, an eagle. What do you think Birrarung that follows a winding path is? Yes, it's the Yarra River. Finally, can you guess what Palam Warim is? That's a tricky one. It is the salt water bay that the river flows into. Deep in the Yarran, Wallet comes home to sleep in a bark-lined nest inside a hollow tree. Penman falls on Jeering, flowing down Wirrup and soaks into Yemamine beak. Oh, there's a lot of Indigenous words in that sentence. Use your visual clues. Can you guess what a wallet is? If you said opossum, you are right. Possums like to come out at night. They are nocturnal. And did you know a female possum is called a Jill and a male is called a Jack? Now I can see Panmin, which is the rain, and Jering is the leaves, I think, or the bark of the tree, and it flows down Wirrup and soaks into Yemenine Beak. So I think it's talking about the rain dripping down the trees onto the forest floor. You can check the glossary to see if you are right. This is the glossary. By using this glossary, you can check that if you're guessing, the right thing is happening in the story. And this time we guessed right. It was talking about the water, Panmin, running down the Jering, the leaves, and Wirrup, the bark, the trunk of the tree, down to Yemenine Beak, which is the earth. As more rain falls, Ban begins to flow over Yemenine Beak and gather into Yaluk. Nearby, Boroin perches on Kombadik, anxiously calling to her mate in his bright blue breeding colours. He flits from frond to frond, chasing insects. Soon Yaluk joins with Yaluk and becomes Birrarung. Often you will find that in nature it is the male that is colourful and bright. This is the case with the superb fairy wren. The male is blue and bright, and the female is brown and plain in colour. Which one would you rather be? I think in humans it's the opposite. Girls like to dress up and be pretty and colourful, and the boys, they get to wear the penguin suit. They get to just dress up in plain things. Although sometimes I think boys like just as much colour as girls. Yangai fly down the valley with great, slow, flapping wing beats, searching for the pines planted where Birrarung has been dammed. Pine cones are rich with seed. Yangai is the black cockatoo, and there are 6 species in Australia. They like to nest in both living and dead trees, so it is important that not all dead trees are cleared from the bushland. Yangai like to eat seeds, especially from the casuarina and eucalypt tree. Where Burrarung begins to run through farmland, Maram, resting on soft forepaws, neatly clips Buath. From her pouch, Muram looks out. Maram is the word for the grey kangaroo. Muram is the word for the joey, the baby. Here's some interesting facts. A grey kangaroo can leap over 9 metres long and almost 2 metres high in the air. And when they're born, they are the size of a jelly bean. And they can't walk backwards, and neither can the emu, which is why they are on our coat of arms, because our country is always moving forwards, not backwards. The word buath, I think, is the grass that they're clipping and eating. Let's see if we're right. If you have a close look at this glossary, it's going by the pages. So if you have a look across the top and find the picture of the page we were just on with the marum and the murum, you will see that buath was grass. We got it right. This is a different way to have a glossary because it's using the pictures on each page and then you look for the words underneath. Hidden behind tangled roots in the bank of Birrarung, Dulai Wurrung lies in her burrow, curled around her newly hatched babies. Dulai Wurrung is, yes, the platypus. Interesting facts. A platypus does not need or have a stomach. It is waterproof, but the males have a venomous spike on their foot. And did you know a platypus can only be found in Australia? Oh, there are so many wonderful facts that you can find out about platypus. They are a very amazing creature and very, very amazing because they're only found in Australia and they have not been able to keep one in captivity anywhere else. And of course, it's on our 20-cent coin. Wah flies along Birrarung with his brothers, making his slow, high call, drawing out the last note so everyone can hear. Wa is the crow. Some interesting facts about a crow. They have the biggest brain for their size out of all of the birds. A group of crows is called a murder. Crows have very good memory and can remember faces and warn others for up to 2 years. Crows only have one mate for life and they both raise their young together. Crows are very intelligent. I'm actually having a connection to another Indigenous book that I've read called How the Birds Got Their Colours. That story is about how the crow became black. It's a very interesting story. From her long burrow in the bank of Birrarung, Warren comes out to eat. In her pouch is her young one. Her pouch opens backwards so she doesn't flick dirt in when she digs. Warren is the wombat. Interesting facts about a wombat. They live for about 15 years. Ugh! But could you imagine if it can take up to 14 days for them to digest something? That is a very long time to have to wait for something to digest in your stomach. They also make very long and big burrows under the ground. I've also put on there a link to watch a great cartoon, an Australian cartoon about wombats. If you go to Little J and Big Cuz, the video is called Wombat Rex. I've put that glossary in again so you can check and make sure you're on the right track with all of the meanings of all of the words that we have been reading. Tajiri sleeps snuggled in a nesting box fixed to a garang. He dreams of gliding from tree to tree and of sweet nectar and tasty insects. Tajiri is the sugar glider. They live for around 9 years. They never need to have a bath and they have no smell. I can hear lots of kids imagining that they would like to be a sugar glider possum so they never have to have a bath. They love to eat sugar, which is why they like fruits and nectars and tasty insects. Near the city, Bathmoo shares a nest with 8 little ducklings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bathmoo is the wood duck. Interesting facts. The male is more colourful than the female. Do you remember we talked about that earlier? They like to spend most of their time on land, and they are very common and can be found nearly all over Australia. I'm making a connection to when I used to live on a farm and I had a creek on my farm and we used to have lots of wood ducks and little babies. We also get them every year at the school where I work and the little babies just wander around the school with all of the children. In evening light, Bogon scurries along the edge of Birrarung, looking for dinner, maybe a tasty fish or two. Drips fall from his waterproof fur. He flicks his thick, white-tipped tail. Bogon, or Rakali, is the water rat. They are native to Australia and Papua New Guinea. They have webbed back feet for swimming, and they are the largest rodent in Australia. I hope you've been practicing with the glossary how to pronounce some of these words. They're very tricky and my tongue is a bit twisted sometimes saying all of these big, long, tricky words. As Nua sets, Wodjil floats on the surface, ready to dive. She watches carefully for the silvery flicker of a school of anchovies she can surprise with a scoop of her huge bill. Sharp-eyed Bunjil soars overhead, watching everything spread out beneath him. Fresh water, which began its journey at Panmin, falling on Jering, mixes into Palamwarim. Birrarung is Willem to many. Do you remember what Willem was? Home. So see if you can translate that sentence because there were a lot of words in there. Panmin was rain, Jering was leaves, and then it's mixing into palamwarine. Palamwarine is the salty water now, so the fresh water is mixing with the salty water. Nua is setting and the wadjil are out fishing. Wadjil is the pelican. Interesting facts about a pelican: they can hold up to 13 litres of water in their bill. That's 6 2-litre milks and a 1 2-litre milk. They can fly up to 3,000 metres high in the sky. Here is some interesting information about the authors and illustrator of the book, and why they wrote about the Yarra River and the animals that live along it. It is important we continue to respect and care for our environments and pass the language and the stories on to future generations. I really loved this book and enjoyed reading it to you today. It is so wonderful to learn some Indigenous language and share that with our future generations. The artwork in this book is so wonderful, and this book would be an asset to any library. I can't wait to read to you again. Please comment and subscribe, and I would even love to see some of your paintings of the animals we talked about today.